Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well. So here we have a brand new release by Gallagher Fragrances. This one is called Rosé Noir. I'm guessing it's going to be a close cousin to Rosé All Day. As a matter of fact, I know what the verdict is because I've been wearing this one for about a week now. And so I'm very excited to give you my thoughts on this brand new release by Gallagher Fragrances. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin my review of Rosé Noir by Gallagher Fragrances, and I tell you all about this fragrance, what it smells like, how close I think it is to Rosé All Day if you do have experience with that fragrance, and all that good stuff, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to enable all notifications by clicking on the bell icon, and of course, give this video a thumbs up as it will greatly assist with the YouTube algorithm. So in the case of this brand new release, we actually have what I would consider an upgraded presentation. It seems like Daniel Gallagher, the perfumer, CEO, founder of the company, is working really hard to really amp things up, if you will. And so we have a metallic plate here on the front, from what I gather. The cap has an engraving at the top. It says Gallagher Fragrances, and I think it clicks into place. Yeah, it does. So you can pick it up from the cap. Really nice presentation with this fragrance, and I think it looks really sleek and also really unique. I've never seen a fragrance with this particular cap before, and I just like the whole Irish crest, and that subtle touch of green really makes the presentation stand out. In any case, I'm not reviewing the presentation, I'm reviewing the smell, and this one has a very simple note breakdown, and it's very conveniently located on the box, and I think on the bottle as well. Yeah. So this one has apple crisp, plum, leather, oud, tonka bean, and stainless steel. Now, of course, with a name like Rosé Noir, I anticipate this being a bit of a darker fragrance. Let's see if that's necessarily the case, but we'll go ahead and start things off with the presentation. So, wow, in the opening of this fragrance, it opens up very fruity. You have that apple vibe that's in here. Very sort of sweet, if you will. It's kind of ambery. It's a little spicy. I know cinnamon is not listed as a note, but I get something that's a little cinnamony from this fragrance. And I suppose that whenever you have like a darker apple type of a fragrance, I typically associate cinnamon as a convenient pairing to the apple. And it is actually a pairing in a lot of other established brands and a lot of other fragrances that I personally own. So it does actually open up fruity, a little bit ambery, a little bit spicy as well. Personally, I think I'm picking up on cinnamon, which is pretty cool. But one thing that I also like about this fragrance are the darker elements. And so it has this very sort of bright and luminous opening, but then it also has like this really dark and subdued contrast in the base. And I think it's that sort of duality or that dichotomy that adds a very special layer to this fragrance. And here's what I mean by that. In the opening, you think it's going to be this sort of bright, sexy, romantic kind of a fragrance that is very playful and flirtatious and club. And then once you get to the darker side of things, it's still sexy, it's still flirtatious, it's still a date night kind of a fragrance, but perhaps it's not as youthful as I anticipated from the initial sniff. And so it definitely matures rather quickly. And I think the two components in here that contribute to that are, of course, the leather, which is an accord or a combination of various ingredients that are giving the impression of leather, but then also the agarwood. And so it does tend to get a little bit darker here. And, you know, I do have to mention some other ingredients that I possibly pick up from this fragrance that are not necessarily listed in the note breakdown. Like I do get a nice bit of vanilla. I don't think vanilla is listed here. And then, of course, there's also tonka bean, which I think, you know, also gives off a little bit of a vanillic touch. And so that could be what I'm smelling here. But I think the tonka bean is secondary to the apple, in the sense that I usually make a strong connection when I'm smelling a lot of these ambery, spicy apple fragrances. even though they might not necessarily contain apple. Like, in my opinion, Rosé All Day bears a similarity to fragrances like Owajan by Parfum de Marly, Ambre Narguilé by Hermes, part of the Hermescence line, Manhattan by Roja Parfum, and Angel Share by Kilian Paris. And then there's another one, I think it's called Dulce Lesir by L'Herbolario. So a lot of these fragrances kind of have like this spicy, cinnamony, ambery apple vibe. And I think what really makes this fragrance stand out and are the noir elements, of course. And so I think that this fragrance is aptly named, and I think in terms of the concept, it was executed very well by perfumer Daniel Gallagher. And so there are sometimes, admittedly so, when I'm wearing a fragrance like Owajan and it lasts a very long time. I personally love Owajan by Parfum de Marly, but I wouldn't consider it to be one of their darkest fragrances. I think, you know, Carlisle has darker tendencies. I think Leighton Exclusive certainly has much darker tendencies, and even Herod has darker tendencies. And so kind of taking that beloved spicy, ambery, tonka bean vanilla type DNA and adding like this darker twist to it with the leather and the oud, I think he ended up doing something really cool with this fragrance, especially if you live in a really cold climate, as I happen to. I think this one is going to work really, really well. But a word of caution, this fragrance actually lasts a long time. And so if you are planning on purchasing and subsequently wearing this fragrance, be careful to not overdo the trigger. Definitely don't go beyond, I would say, like 4 sprays, especially if you're spraying them in conspicuous areas that are going to get a lot of olfactory visibility, if you will. Like if you're spraying on your arms and you're wearing a short sleeve, people are going to smell you, especially if you're doing it on your shirt, which is always going to be exposed if it's the outer layer. People are going to smell it on you, right? If you're wearing it on your chest and then you put a layer or two on top of that, then it's a different story. But long-lasting apple, crumb, cinnamon, ambery type of a fragrance with leather and agarwood. And in terms of that stainless steel accord, I don't know. I think in terms of stainless steel, I usually associate that with a sensation of like cool, right? Or like a cold sensation. But this fragrance is just so warm and ambery that I don't necessarily pick up on that imaginary note, if you will. But I like this one. I really do like this one. So here's my recommendation, because I know a lot of people, especially if you're delving into the brand for the first time, you might ask yourself, well, what should I purchase, Rosé All Day or Rosé Noir? And I think if you don't mind fragrances that head in a bit of a darker, more mysterious direction, definitely check this one out. But if you just want to play it safe 100%, and you want a fragrance that, you know, is not only sexy and flirtatious, but also a little bit on the youthful side, I would say go with Rosé All Day. So I kind of like that duality between the day and the noir, which indicates darkness. But in any case, I'm rambling. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, not too unique of a fragrance because it is in some ways a flanker. I don't know if that's necessarily what Daniel Gallagher had intended for this fragrance, but I do pick up on similarities between this and its predecessor. But the overall smell is really, really likable, really warm, spicy, ambery, a little fruity, and also dark on account of those leathery and oudy elements. And so if you're a fan of that particular profile, I would definitely check this out. Longevity, 10 plus hours. Projection was great for the first hour of application. Definitely radiated beyond an arm's length, and it didn't even start to sit closer to the skin until about, I mean, to be honest, like that 6 to 7 hour mark. Like you're going to be smelling this stuff the whole day. I did not wear this fragrance today. I actually have a different scent of the day, but I sprayed it on this test strip about 25 minutes ago, and it's like stuck in my nostrils at the moment. So it's a very long lasting, very well performing fragrance. Versatility, I think, is okay. I wouldn't wear this one in the hotter weather. I think colder weather is going to be amazing. I think this one would be appropriate for a college student as well as somebody who's a little bit older. I think this one is totally unisex, and I think this one definitely conveys a bit more of a formal vibe. Now, this fragrance is not as expensive as some other indie brands that I have tried and own bottles from, and so for that reason, of course, if it is within your price range, I suppose you can wear this one casually too, but there is a certain level of formality in terms of the smell. And in terms of the presentation, hey, I think it's a sleek upgrade. I think it looks really, really nice. I just love like the shiny, you know, clover on the side, and I just really, really enjoy this presentation from the plaque to the cap. I think it's a really cool upgrade. I don't think it's a well-needed upgrade because I really enjoyed the previous presentations as well, especially with the coffin-like presentation, but I do enjoy this one too. Kind of on the minimalist side when it comes to the box, but the bottle is really nice. So my final verdict is, yeah, if you like some of those spicy, ambery, slightly fruity, apple-driven types of fragrances, if you live in a predominantly cold climate, or maybe you just like fragrances that go a bit in the darker direction, but also have a nice sweet complement to them with vanilla, tonka bean, I would definitely check this fragrance out, and I hope it's to your liking. I'm going to leave e-commerce links down below, not affiliate links, but I am going to leave links down below if I do manage to find a retailer that carries this brand, and I know that there are many. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review. Hope you took something of value from it. If you did, please subscribe, hit the bell, leave a thumbs up. Love you all. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.